Hello and welcome to Inside the Newsroom. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot of stories to get to, but really just one big story. Now, Smithfield Foods is moving its plant from its longtime location next to Falls Park to a location in Foundation Park. Now, the move should lead to the expansion of the city's downtown. We're going to actually bring in a couple of our digital reporters now who've spent a lot of time digging into this announcement. We have Ray Yost and Marissa Brunkhorst. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Let's start with you, Ray. For those who haven't heard, what's going on?
So this plant, this pork processing plant that's been at the location near Falls Park for more than 100 years, announced on Monday that it will be moving to a location in Foundation Park in northwestern Sioux Falls. So it's going to be, probably a couple miles away from where it is now. And so they will build a brand new plant that they said is going to be more efficient. It will process more than the 20,000 hogs they already do each day. And so it's big news. It's going to create an opportunity for that land that they're on now near Falls Park. The city will be working with the development corporation, and who knows, extension of the downtown, I guess, as officials said on Monday.
Perfect. And Marissa, can you talk to me a little bit about the cost of the project, where this money's coming from, that sort of thing?
Yeah, a key factor of this is a donation from T. Denny Sanford to the Sioux Falls Development Foundation. They are essentially, he donated $50 million for them to buy this plant and redevelop the area. So that money will go towards them. Sanford's no stranger to donations throughout the city. That's kind of what my story breaks down, just taking a look at different namesakes he has throughout the city.
Perfect. And can you guys talk to me a little bit about just this announcement was a big announcement. We heard that there was going to be a generational announcement last Friday. We had no idea what was going on until 10 o'clock yesterday on Monday. Talk to me just kind of about the excitement building up to this and really what went down yesterday.
Yeah, I'll start on that. There was a news conference on this big announcement yesterday or Monday at 10 a.m. From the website, that meant we had certain assignments that we needed to cover. Mine was writing about it for the website as it was happening, as it was unfolding. So I was looking at the nuts and bolts from the very beginning, moving things back and forth. And anytime you have a story like that, from my perspective, it's kind of fun because you're updating in real time. And then everybody had their own assignments from web to broadcast. So I'll let Marissa kind of take it from there on those individual topics.
Yeah, I guess in terms of the newsroom, this is my first kind of major announcement as a young reporter. It was pretty exciting to watch everybody kind of work in real time. It felt like a newsroom was really newsroomy, if you would. Everybody was kind of figuring out what angles they wanted to pursue. I covered, pork producer reaction in addition to kind of this Sanford money angle. But yeah, it was just really fun to watch everybody kind of work. It was a really busy day yesterday.
It was really busy.
Yes.
I mean, we're busy all the time and we have different angles to stories. But yesterday was, there's so many layers, as you're going to, keep discussing later. But it was really fun to see each layer unfold. There's things that people exchange for their stories because they got a quote or they got a particular tidbit. So it was a lot of exchange, a lot of excitement. And hey, it's a huge piece of Sioux Falls history.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big economic piece too.
Oh, yeah. And I can completely comment on how busy we were. Even I turned a story looking just at the Steel District and Sioux Steel and kind of the symbolism between, that downtown and now Smithfield, which used to be John Morrell's. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm going to keep Marissa here for a second, but after the break, we are going to bring in Dan Santella, and we are going to talk more about the Smithfield announcement and hear from Mayor Paul Tenhenken and Governor Larry Roden. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Inside the Newsroom. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Smithfield Foods President and CEO Shane Smith yesterday said almost 20,000 hogs are processed at Smithfield daily, with the 3,200 employees in Sioux Falls taking home more than $200 million in wages every year. We told you they're relocating to a new home. Dan Santella has more on that announcement yesterday and what the mayor and governor are saying.
Today, Smithfield Foods is located in central Sioux Falls, a short walk from the park that gives the community its name. But today's announcement was about tomorrow.
We are planning to build at a location in Foundation Park at the intersection of I-29 and I-90 that will replace our current Sioux Falls plant, which has played a central role in the regional economy here for more than 100 years.
South Dakota Governor Larry Roden and Sioux Falls Mayor Paul Tenhaken were on hand.
My administration's been working closely with the mayor's office and others for the past year to get this to the finish line.
Construction of the new facility in Foundation Park is slated to begin in the first half of 2027, and we are targeting to begin operations at the end of 2028.
Tenhaken shared the details of a gift from a familiar philanthropist, which will facilitate the availability of 120 acres for eventual development.
I reached out to my friend T. Denny Sanford, and as part of this relocation, Denny is going to be donating $50 million to help the Sioux Falls Development Foundation take over the ownership of that site.
And while the big announcement took place in a shiny urban setting inside a new hotel, the broader region's rural landscape wasn't overlooked.
This project will expand our producers' market reach, and it will drive economic activity across the state of South Dakota. So it's a huge win for agriculture in South Dakota.
And this move offers exciting development for South Dakota pork producers, for people downtown. We're bringing in Dan Santella, and Marissa is still here. Guys, talk to me a little bit about what pork producers are saying, what the mayor and the governor are saying, aside from, what we just heard.
Yeah, I spoke to two pork producers, one from here in South Dakota and another in Minnesota. They're very excited about this move. They said that this is a great reinvestment in the state. I believe Shane Smith, that CEO at that news conference, said that, or Mayor Tenhaken rather, said that they could have lost this plant to a different location. And those pork producers are very, very thrilled that this location is going to stay in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, I think it seems to me kind of the focus kind of had two different areas, right? That the one, new location for Smithfield. Mm-hmm. Two, what does that mean for their future site, their future former site, I guess, downtown? What's it mean for the future redevelopment of that area? Then also the new location for Smithfield and how that could impact them. And you had heard from pork producers about how it might be a better location.
Yeah, they mentioned some of those criticisms maybe that downtown location has faced in the past. We've done reporting on maybe that smell that we experience downtown, and then that pollution as well into the river. And they said that this location could negate all of those criticisms, this new location in Foundation Park.
I think as reporters, too, it's going to be important for us to monitor that over these next several years. Yeah. How is Smithfield's new location better? Mm-hmm. Not only for the company, for the employees, for the people who work there, for ag producers, for pork producers, for South Dakota's ag economy as a whole, comparing what we have now, the current location, to their future spot in Foundation Park.
Yeah, they're pretty excited about this new technology. This new facility is going to be state of the art, as they said, and compared to an over century-old location, that's a big change.
Well, and talk to me a little bit about, you were kind of mentioning it there, and we talked about it a little bit in the last, before the break, Marissa, but this was a big day for reporters in our newsroom, for anchors in our newsroom. It was pretty much all hands on deck. I don't know if there was a single person who wasn't doing some sort of angle with the Smithfield announcement. So talk to me a little bit about that from your guys' perspective. Dan, you were at the announcement. Marissa, you were here, you were watching it digitally, writing up, making phone calls to pork producers, digging into, the Sanford money, which we talked a little bit about before the break as well. So talk to me about that from your guys' perspective.
Well, I think it started a lot from, newsroom leadership than organizing different focuses for the reporters and how we make our reports different. I sit next to Lauren Solik in our newsroom, and even she and I were chatting as we were putting our stories together. Lauren, are you covering this component? Okay, then I won't cover that in my story.
Yeah, similar on the web end too. We're kind of going over what sources we're going to talk to, what sources we want to talk to, making sure we don't necessarily call the same people, things like that. This was probably the biggest news day I've ever experienced, as I'm a pretty young reporter. Dan's been doing this a little bit longer than I have, but it was just really cool to just see everybody bustling and working. I feel like this is the newsroom that we see. I don't want to say in the movies, maybe that's cheesy, but
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's that sort of that pace.
That pace, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and even like I typically anchor the 5 o'clock, but we were thinking, I think yesterday, we're talking about Smithfield. It's a nice day outside. Let's have a live report there.
Yeah.
So then they put me out there to have that live come out. So I introduced and then put a bow on my daily report from a live setting in front of Smithfield. Just another way to present different things, and constantly referencing the great work on our website too. And I was reading Marissa's stuff yesterday as I was putting my story together. So that collaboration to have a lot of different stories where we're also not stepping on each other's toes.
Yes.
Well, Dan, you gave me the perfect transition right there talking about our website. Folks, this is a QR code that you can go to for KELOLAND.com. You're going to see Marissa's story. You're going to see Dan's story. You're going to see Ray's story. You're going to see the story I did. All things Smithfield related and this move you can find right here if you scan this QR code on your screen. And folks, that is going to do it for this block, but don't go anywhere because after the break, we are going to talk about construction at the zoo. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Inside the Newsroom. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. The Sioux Falls Zoo and Aquarium consists of 2 locations, the Great Plains Zoo and the Butterfly House and Aquarium. Sydney Hoyer is actually going to join us now because she got an update yesterday on the merger and when we can expect to see those changes. Thank you so much for joining us, Sydney. What are we seeing right now? Give us an update.
Yeah, right now, if you're going to the Great Plains Zoo, you're going to see some construction happening there. There is a butterfly garden currently being built, and you can kind of see that taking shape here. That's going to be where the butterflies that are currently at the Butterfly House, they will be moved to that Great Plains Zoo location once that construction is finished.
All right, and when it comes to construction, do we have an estimated timeline?
Yeah, so for that butterfly garden, they're hoping about next spring, so 2027, about a year from now. And so the merger has been happening since 2023, so 3 years ago at this point, but actually bringing the 2 locations together is more of kind of a recent thing.
Yeah, well, and talk to me a little bit about that merger because, like you mentioned, that was 3 years ago. So this project's been in the works for quite a while.
Yes, so you have the Great Plains Zoo and then you have the Butterfly House and Aquarium, and they are those separate locations, but together they are the Sioux Falls Zoo and Aquarium. So they're kind of that one entity, 2 locations, and so that end goal is going to be to bring everything at the Butterfly House and Aquarium to the Great Plains Zoo location. So that's where we're seeing the butterfly garden and where someday we're going to see that aquarium. But construction has not quite started on that. They're working on some fundraising still to get that kind of off the ground.
All right, so talk to me about everything that's moving. I heard, when I watched your story yesterday, obviously we didn't play the full story, but I heard about one of my favorite animals. We were kind of talking about it, the penguins. So talk to me a little bit about the animals.
Yes, so the penguins currently are in a totally different part of the zoo. If you kind of go over by the carousel, they have their own building over there. And so they have a smaller-ish sort of space right now, kind of further away from animals that you might kind of relate to being similar to those penguins. And so those penguins are going to move inside the aquarium area. So they're going to be right there, right when you walk into the entrance inside the building. They're going to be there. There's going to be a sand area that they'll have to play in. And then on the other side of their glass, there's going to be a sand area for kids to play in. So as the CEO called it, it's going to be a nose-to-beak experience. So kids will be playing on one side of the glass and penguins on the other side of the glass.
Perfect. I'm going to let this video play over again because I want to talk about how the animals are reacting to the construction. And I know, here's more of construction. Sorry, folks. I'm going to go here, but I want you to talk to me about how the animals are reacting to all of the construction. Sorry, folks. I'm pushing all of the wrong buttons right now. Here we go, because you told me a fun story about these guys right here, the tigers.
Yes, so the tigers are pretty close to that butterfly garden construction right now. There's only really one cage sort of in between that, and that's the snow leopards. But then there's the tigers, and they have a pretty good view of that construction. And so what they told me there at the zoo was that the tigers are very nosy, and they like to watch the construction. They like to know what's going on. They're very interested by all of those construction noises, so they kind of like that they're able to get a front row seat to this addition there.
Talk to me a little bit about the snow leopards too. How are they reacting?
Yeah, so they're snow leopards. They have a male snow leopard, and then they have a female and a baby snow leopard who was born last year. And so they'll put the male out sometimes, and other times the mom and the baby. And so the mom and the baby hate the construction. They're not a fan of the noise. They do not want to know what's going on. They're a little bit scared of it. So during the week when that construction is going on, they'll have the male snow leopard out, and then on the weekends when that quiets down, the mom and baby get to come back out.
Perfect. Well, and when you were putting this together, talk to me a little bit about how you decided to choose what animals to film. I know you talked with a couple people, so talk to me about, what they're saying about this entire project.
Yeah, so as far as choosing which animals to kind of film, we're looking at those ones that are kind of near that construction being affected the most, like we talked about. So those tigers, those snow leopards, just kind of looking at even the entrance, kind of the things around there that are being affected and what's closest to that construction. And basically what the staff there told me was that it's sparking interest because it's so close to that entrance there. You see it right when you walk in. People are asking questions. They're wanting to know things about it. They want to know when it's done. Kids are really interested in it. A lot of kids are big fans of cars and those construction equipment. So it's sparking interest for everyone of all ages.
Perfect. And talk to me about who you spoke with in this story. I know folks didn't get to hear from them because we didn't play the full package because it is a little longer. However, it's available on our website, folks. I'll show you that QR code one more time a little later. But talk to me about who you talked to and what they're saying about this project.
Yeah, so I was able to talk to the CEO and then their PR and marketing director. The CEO was just able to kind of take me through the whole process of what the merger has been like, the timeline of everything, what they're working towards. And then the PR and marketing director was able to speak more from the side of what are people saying, what are they wondering, what's reaction been like, how are visitors, having to adapt to some of those changes as well.
And how are visitors reacting and adapting to those changes?
Yeah, I mean, even while I was there weren't a ton of people there. It was kind of early in the morning, but as kids were going through, they were kind of pointing at the big gate around the construction, kind of asking parents, what was that? What's going on there? And then, their parents kind of explaining those renderings that you can see on the outside and saying, oh, this is what's going to be there in the future. And so you could definitely see that interest growing in people.
Yeah, well, I'm going to bring up this video one more time because there are some renderings in here that you were able to feature. So talk to me a little bit about the aquarium, how big that is. That's the butterfly house rendering. And I know there's more in here for people to see, but talk to me about how big this is going to be.
Yeah, so the aquarium is going to be 350,000 gallons of water total. And one of the biggest parts in there is a 250,000 gallon aquarium that's going to be kind of a tunnel, and they're going to have sharks and stuff in there. And it's one of those things where you can walk through it and you can see the water all around you.
Perfect. Well, folks, that is going to do it for our time with Sydney. Sydney, thank you so much for joining us. I am going to pull up this QR code one more time for you guys. If you scan this QR code, that is going to take you to KELOLAND.com, and you can see Sydney's story. It was one of our Eye on KELOLANDs this week. You can see all the rest of our Eye on KELOLANDs. You can see anything about the Smithfield stuff we talked about earlier in the show. And of course, coming up next, we're going to actually check in with our Travis Fossing about the annual Operation Hope and Caring Day. You are going to find all those and more right there at the QR code on your screen, KELOLAND.com. And folks, don't go anywhere because like I mentioned, Travis Fossing is going to sit down with us a little bit and tell us how you can bounce your way into giving back to the community. You're watching Inside the Newsroom. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. A high-flying event to help school children in need is happening today at Air Madness in Harrisburg. Operation Hope and Caring is an ongoing effort from Levo Credit Union to benefit local schools most affected by poverty.
These are kids with adult problems sometimes, and if we can help remove those challenges in their lives and just let them learn, then this is amazing.
Now, the dollars raised are given to local Title I schools and used differently by nearly every principal, and our Travis Fossing previewed the event last week. And he's actually going to be heading there today, and he joins us now. Travis, thank you so much for joining us.
Not a problem.
The event is happening today. We gave viewers a brief overview, but talk to me just about the logistics if people want to bounce their way into giving back to the community.
Well, the Sioux Falls School District doesn't have school today, so a lot of the kids are going to be making their way down to Air Madness in Harrisburg. The event runs from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m., costs $30 to get in, and the entire amount of that $30 is going to go to Operation Hope and Caring, helping out those schools that are most affected by poverty. And they use them for a number of different items, whether it's for a clothing closet or a snack pantry. Some have used it for a washer and dryer or laundry soap, socks, you name it, it's been done.
Perfect. And you kind of mentioned it right there, but talk to me a little bit about how this money is benefiting schools and specifically these kids that are in need.
Well, and the great part is it's up to each principal at the different schools what they want to spend it on. And a lot of times it's for something that isn't normally covered by the school district. They have their funding, but a lot of these schools don't have like parent-teacher associations, so some of these dollars are in place of that. And again, doing everything from buying winter jackets and boots to picking up snacks, be it Pop-Tarts or crackers or just something to get the kids by. A lot of these kids will show up not having eaten breakfast, and they're going to be hungry, and it's harder to pay attention and do well in class if you're on an empty stomach. So a lot of times they'll give them a snack before they head down to lunch and just get them by for the day.
Perfect. And so what is the biggest takeaway for people to know about, Operation Hope and Caring and the story you're doing today?
Well, I mean, it's a day of fun. It really is. You have the $30 entry fee, and you're going to get a $20 arcade credit back on top of that. So really like $10 to get in, plus the kids get to play some games. It's a day of exercise for their kids and their families, and then they know they're going to be helping out kids that maybe don't have it quite as well or can't go to Air Madness, but they're going to help them out in this way with new boots or a new coat or snacks or anything else along those lines.
Perfect. All right. And the real question here, what time can people catch you bouncing if they want to say hello and give back to the cause?
Yeah, they're going to have to look quick if they expect to see me bouncing. I've done it before. I have. I've been down there. It's been a couple of years, and I enjoyed it. But in the dress clothes, I don't know if I'll give it a go today, but maybe sometime in the future.
Fair enough. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And folks, that is all the time we have for today for Inside the Newsroom. Make sure to catch us every weekday at 1 and 3. Until next time, have a great day, everyone.